Hey, Shawad, wise guy. Sorry I'm late, but I had to get the game ready. Uh, what happened was I had a little bit of technical difficulties with me and my technical advisor, um, but we're here now, and that's pretty much all that matters. Tonight, I would like to thank a group of people that I sit with, I talk with every day, um, and I wanted to share something with all of them. Uh, I like to call it Gun Squad Talks. What it is I bring something to the table that I'm interested in. Tonight I'm bringing the black eyed children. I said the black eyed children, not the black ass children. Yes, I know they exist, but the black eyed children. I have a panel here in which we're going to talk about a video that we're going to watch, and we're going to conversate with you and with the panel about what we see. Who do we have here tonight? We have Barbara, we have Gloria, and Unfaced Jules. How are you doing tonight?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Tired.
And I'm doing wonderful.
I'm good, thanks.
I'm tired.
Looking forward to this.
All right. So, does anybody have any idea what the Black Eyed Children are?
I don't.
I
I've seen a few documentaries about them, so it's something that is holds my interest. So I'm happy to see what you've got to show us as well, and then I can, you know what I mean. I can give my thoughts afterwards.
and I've saw a couple of videos a long time ago about it, so I kind of know what it is, but not in detail like I would some things that I would research.
Right.
I've done a 5-minute read, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, the Black Eyed Children is something that I've looked. I've been watching the phenomenon for a while because it's becoming more and more um, of an occurrence for it to be something that's just completely overlooked. Even if it's something else, it's something that's happening too often for people to overlook. And I was looking into it for a while, but one thing that I noticed is like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you would type in, you would literally have to type in the entire thing, black eyed children or black eyed kids. Like, it was like hard to find any videos on them anymore, you know. So what's
So
going
just
on?
another one of those things that they're trying to bury.
Yeah, kind of like they did with the Men in Black. I mean,
Yes.
because for anybody who believes that the Men in Black exist, you have to think about it like this. They turned that whole thing into a joke with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. That whole thing became a joke once they made that movie.
Well, that's what they do with Hollywood. They'll anything that has that you can find evidence on that's on the kind of strange side. Hollywood will make a movie on it and kind of make a mockery out of it just to kind of stir people away from those conspiracies.
Right. Well, the thing with the with what they do is they take the truth of a situation and turn it comical.
Well, yeah, they
Right.
excuse my French, but they layer on tons of shit, so
Right.
you have to dig through the tons of shit to get to the real.
Right. And that's exactly what they did with the Men in Black because around that time the Men in Black, the whole thing was getting real big. So what did they do with it? They controlled it with a video, with a movie with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Right?
It's like trying to put a mockery on it so people don't believe it. They just think
Yes,
when you hear like Men in Black, you automatically will think of that film. You won't think of anything else.
absolutely.
Right.
And everyone else will be like, Oh, you know what I mean? I'll shut up because of how they portrayed it in the film. So it sort of like steers people away from the actual thing that was original.
Well, think about it in the in the 80s, a lot of people were starting to look into the alien phenomenon and they come out with ET.
Right,
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah.
right. I mean, they do that with a lot of things, like
Yes.
with the whole black eyed children. You know, they did this once before with them. If you remember, like movies like The Children of the Corn.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Children of the Corn, it was basically, you know, was that tale of those children. You know, the only one that had black eyes was, I think, what was his name, Isaac, or what? I don't remember his name.
Yeah, it was the head
Yeah,
evil kid.
yeah, he was the only one that had the black eyes. But you know, that phenomenon, the way that they would just show up and terrorize people, that was based off of the black eyed children.
Right.
So they have tried. So they have you know tried to duck the conversation once before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start this video, and y'all please let me know if y'all can hear this and enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Children and appear to be between the ages of 6 and 16 depending on who they encounter. No one knows where they come from and how they appear, but people report being left terrified after encountering these beings. Over the years, people have come up with various theories as to what these beings are. Some believe that they are extraterrestrials, while others believe them to be demonic in nature and seek to cause harm to those who grant them entry. By all accounts, when they appear, they want access into the victim's home to call their parents, but once eye contact is made, their presence seems a lot more sinister. What is fascinating about these encounters is that the reports people make are extremely similar. All witnesses state that their eyes are jet black, they have very pale skin, and once in close proximity, individuals have an overwhelming, uneasy feeling about the situation. These beings are commonly described as wearing dated clothing and always ask for something. They appear to want to get close to whoever they encounter. They will request things to achieve this goal, such as entry to the person's home or ride in their car. In recent times, the black-eyed children have made it into creepypasta lore, but people who have reported experiencing an encounter with these beings insist that they are telling the truth and that there is something highly unusual happening. It's presumed that encounters have been happening for over 100 years, but the first person to report an encounter with these beings that I'm aware of is a man named Brian Bethel. This is his incident. One evening, Brian traveled to his internet provider to pay his bills, which was located on North First Street in Abilene, Texas. Brian parked the car in a nearby theater parking lot and wrote the check whilst there. The area was dark, and Brian was relying on the dim light inside his car. Now, this is where things get strange. Brian was about to get out of his car to drop the check off at the office's drop slot. However, there was a knock on his car window. This made Brian jump, and he described seeing two boys aged between 9 and 12. He reported that the boys were wearing hooded pullovers and were very pale. One had curly hair, while the other was red-headed. Brian rolled down his window, and the boys spoke to him. They explained that they had come to watch the premiere of Mortal Kombat at the theater, but had forgotten their money at their mother's home. They then requested that Brian drove them back to their mother's house to get their money and then back to the theater. During this conversation, Brian reported that he was overwhelmed by an irrational fear and had absolutely no idea why this was the case.
Okay, just from what you've heard so far, how would you feel about just being in just the beginning of an encounter like that?
Well, I'm telling you now, it's gone to 2:30 in the morning, and I've got goosebumps. That would frighten the life out of me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not inviting any unknown child into my car. That just seems dangerous for me.
I'm not inviting any kids in. I didn't let
Right?
When I said that I did a
my
5 minute
kids' friends
read,
in. I'm not letting them in.
But to feel uneasy just at the presence of a
It-
child.
well, that's it. It's the feeling of the uneasiness that everyone says. You know what I mean? That's what I can't. It has given me goosebumps, and I'm sitting here in the dark.
Well,
what were you saying,
us
Gloria?
as humans, we have a sixth sense, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
So
I was
when you and
sorry.
it's given to us by nature, it's a self-preservation tool that we have. So to
Right.
get that uneasy feeling off bat, then you kind of have to listen to those feelings, right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gloria?
Yeah, no, I was saying the 5 minute read that I had done was on this particular story that you just played.
Oh,
Is it?
Yeah, I was talking about the two boys, like 9 and 11. This was the story that I read.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, I got a couple more for you on here. I just wanted to get y'all initial responses to how y'all would have just. I mean, because honestly, one thing I was taught in the military is, you know, if you have that uneasy feeling, you go with that feeling first. You never
yes,
second guess that feeling.
well, yeah, that's your intuition.
right.
Right.
Yeah, like your gut instinct as well, isn't it?
But
I've
Right.
always been told to
human
go with
being,
my gut instinct.
as human beings, we are compelled to want to help children. So
Right.
you're
Yeah,
having these two battling feelings, you know.
yeah, I can understand that. But if the child's got no whites in their eyes, no, I'm sorry, you ain't coming in.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, you have this, child uneasy. It's just, these two feelings clash. So,
Right.
Yeah, but I would think if they come across as caring or that, but they're not, are they? They're quite robotic or they're quite insistent. And if they get insistent, then I would get quite pissed off with them.
Right.
You know, no means no. No means no to any child. You know, they should do as they're told.
right.
You know,
Then
so
it's not a
but
sweet little
my
child
my
anymore.
initial feeling would be fear. It would be fear.
Right. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and play a little bit more.
Okay.
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 He also reported that the boys were trying to convince and reassure him and promised that it wouldn't take long, that they couldn't enter his car without his permission, and that they didn't have a gun. Brian, panicking now, tried to hide his fear and show that he was calm. He noted that he subconsciously reached for the door handle before snapping out of it and quickly driving away from the boys. He did this as he came to notice that they both had coal black eyes and later described that they are the sort of eyes one would expect to see on television programs about aliens or vampires. They were just soulless orbs like two great swathes of starless night sky. After this incident, Brian shared his encounter privately with some trusted friends, but unfortunately, this incident leaked and spread like wildfire online. To this day, Brian has consistently stated that he was telling the truth and that this bizarre incident changed him. Now, let's review another bizarre incident that can't be easily explained, documented on mysteriousuniverse.org, and as always, you'll find the link in the description.
Wait, can you pause it there?
Friends with
Yes.
So they said that he touched them and they were cold to the touch.
Yes.
Well,
Some people believe that they are disease incarnate because a lot of people who come into contact with them do become very sick.
okay, but to be cold to the touch means you have no blood flow, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what it would mean.
That would
That
almost
or anemia.
indicate that would almost be like the dead, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought was dead.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Hmm.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to make sure I heard that right.
Oh, you're good. Anybody else?
Nope.
All right, cool.
18 and was about to start college at the time, but had decided to go on a road trip beforehand. Now, Brent decided to make the trip from his hometown in California to Denver, Colorado, with the intention of visiting a friend there. Unfortunately, Brent didn't have much money at the time and his parents weren't keen on the idea, but not wanting to intrude, they didn't stop him. During the drive, somewhere in the wilds of Nevada at this point, Brent realized that this drive was going to take much longer than previously thought. Feeling tired, he parked the car and was a bit creeped out since the area had no lighting at all and as a result was pitch black. It was there he drifted off asleep. Brent reported awaking to light tapping on the window and said that there was a young man peering into the car. He described this person as being fairly skinny and thought that this individual must have been in his late teens. Brent also said that he was dressed normally and at first didn't seem particularly threatening in any way. Obviously dazed and confused, Brent questioned what the man wanted. The man calmly said, "Open the door." Brent, panicking now, said that suddenly he was flooded with an overwhelming sense of danger and obviously said no. The man then demanded again that Brent open the door. At this point, Brent noticed that the man wasn't alone and that he was accompanied by two others who were lurking nearby in the background.
All right. So how do y'all feel so far about this story? How would y'all feel about that one?
I would be petrified at that one, waking up to someone knocking on the window saying, "Open the door, open the door." You know
Man,
what I mean? Especially coming out of a sleep as well, and then noticing that there's another two with them. I would be petrified.
I know I wouldn't open the door.
for real.
I don't know. First thing
No,
I do is
I would
grab my
have my
gun.
gun out and would
Yeah.
be shooting.
But you forget where I live. We can't. I
Right?
wouldn't have a gun, would I?
No,
Hey, you
neither
gotta
would
read
we.
what's going on, man.
God
That's
bless
why I'm
America.
coming up. That's why I'm coming to move over there.
Right?
But if they're not, if they're cold and they don't know what they are, if you shoot them, who's to say that's going to do anything?
Well, I
Exactly.
mean, there's
My first instinct would be to get outside the other car door and fucking run.
I don't know if I would run. Cause that makes me vulnerable to three people chasing me.
Right?
Yeah, I know, but it's with me. I think it's fight or flight, and you can't fight three of them who are. You know what I mean? That's scary because I mean, even if they was, I mean, to have that overwhelming feeling of danger and fear, it is
Right.
the fight or flight. And I honestly think in that situation, especially living where I live, I would get out the other side of the car and I would run. I'd take my chances.
Right.
Even you know what I mean? And it may not be the wisest one, and I may be dead at the end of it, but that would probably be rather than being closed, because to me, one could get on the roof, one could be one side, one could be the other. So my only way of escape would be there and then on that other
Well,
side.
Yeah.
you know what that story just made me think of? The movie This Is Us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The black eyed people.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
It's a,
they literally looked just like the family. They surrounded the home and were trying to make their way into the home. I mean, that's what that visual just put in my head was that movie.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird how when you start thinking about different things, how a lot of things ring to where you they have or you have or someone has talked about it. You just really didn't realize or recognize it at the time.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, let's go ahead and finish this story.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, this is where things get bizarre. Initially, Brent reported that he thought it was kids trying to mess with him, so he took out a knife, allowing these strangers to see it in the hopes that it would scare them away. However, this didn't work and infuriated the man, who must have known that there was no way Brent was opening the door. Brent went on to note that this man let out an incredibly chilling and intense wail, and he began to hit and shove the car, which shook it, and Brent said that he felt the car lift from the ground slightly. He said that it was an incredible display of strength that he would never have expected from a person, let alone someone who was so thin. The car came to a stop, and it was at this moment of panic he noticed that the two other people with him also had something very strange about them. Brent reported that their eyes were either glowing all reflecting light of the moon, and that they were somewhat blurry or fuzzy. One of them appeared to be a girl, and without warning was now right beside the car alongside the man. This again made him jump, and he noted that she did so in the blink of an eye before requesting that he opens the door. At this point, Brent snapped out of his panic and shock. He started the car, but said that he was nearly paralyzed in fear with the thought that they may have tampered with it in some way, preventing it from starting. Fortunately, the car did start, and Brent quickly sped away as fast as his car would allow. Now, if things weren't already strange enough, Brent reported that again he was gripped with an intense fear and noticed that one of them was now running alongside the car and noted that he was going around 40 miles per hour. All the while, this entity was banging on the car window with increasing force. Brent floored it and noted that around 50 miles per hour was the point where this entity began to fall behind and eventually faded into the darkness. Brent drove and drove until he came across a populated diner where he then stayed for 3 hours, shaking and filled with adrenaline. He never told his friend or police about this incident as he didn't think that they would believe his encounter and decided it would be for the best if he remained quiet. To this day, Brent remains adamant that he was telling the truth and still has no explanation as to what these beings were or why it happened. Now again, I can't confirm whether or not this next case is true, but
That was the one that I really wanted y'all to hear.
So he was keeping pace with the car at 40 miles an hour.
40
He had
miles,
super
that's what I was
strength.
going to say.
At 40 miles
Usain Bolt, I don't think so. Jesus. That's it.
So I'm
Yeah, so
thinking,
your running theory, Jules, would not have worked out well for you.
No.
no, no, running wouldn't have worked, but I don't know that a gun would work either.
No, exactly.
Only
So
one
you're
way to find
screwed.
out.
I mean,
Right?
basically,
Yeah,
you don't
that's
let
what I'm
them in.
saying. Headshot. I'm telling you, headshot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What they do, like zombies.
it sounds
Headshot.
like you're doomed, honestly.
It does. It's, that they really they're there to terrorize you, and they're succeeding in doing that. Because I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, if you're driving away at a speed of 40 miles an hour and they're keeping up for you, I would have to need a new pair of drawers at the end of the fucking night.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, that motherfucker don't want me no more because that car is full of shit.
Oh, yeah, no.
At 40 miles an hour, that car is full of shit. You don't want me no more.
Wow.
Do you
Yeah.
know, I've just put my dog into my bedroom because I'm frightened now.
Stan will
Wow.
protect you.
Yeah.
Gee, that's crazy. I would flip the hell out. I think I would lose my mind.
Yeah,
I
he
think
said
Yeah,
so.
I don't understand why he didn't. I can't understand why he didn't say anything to anyone because I'd have been bad, you run 40 miles an hour. 40, I would have
Well,
been
think
like a
about
They would
Jules.
think you're
babbling wreck.
crazy. That's
Put
why.
yourself in that position. Right? They would think he was crazy and put him in a mental asylum.
they would think you were fucking really, you had a nightmare or something.
They would, yeah. I was going to
The
say
minute,
they
the
because he
minute
was
you said I
asleep, they'd
woke
probably
up
think
and
it was
I
a
saw a
nightmare.
kid,
But
right, the moment you say I woke up and I saw a child and he was banging on my car and he was running at 40 miles an hour, they're going to tell you you had a nightmare.
Yeah, they would blame it on sleep paralysis.
Yeah, and if you were insistent, they would say you were crazy and lock you up.
or night
Yes,
terrors, yeah. Because I get night terrors and they're awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Very true.
a lot of abduction stories they attribute it to night terrors. Like
right.
that's the way they explain these things away.
Yeah,
But when you have so many cases that are alike all over the world, there has to be something to it.
right.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. You can't have that many stories which are basically the same in the essence of these children and the fear that they instill in people when they're asking to come into the home or into the car or into wherever. It
Right.
can't be a coincidence. These people don't know each other, you know, and
Well, if
they've
you
come
just
out with a great
Definitely an
risk.
archetype.
yeah, if you put
Yeah.
it into a context of like the court system on a murder case, any case with that many witnesses with the same story would be looked at with a really close. How do I want to say this? It wouldn't be scrutinized.
Right.
You know what
So
I'm conflicted
why
about? Oh, go ahead.
why with all of these stories, the similar stories all over the world, is it so scrutinized? It's because they want to hide it. Because there's something
Yeah,
to it. Go
that
ahead, Gloria.
Oh, I'm just saying I'm conflicted because you keep saying they ask for permission to come in. If they have this supernatural strength and speed, why are they asking permission? Why aren't they just
I
going
suppose a
in?
bit. It's a
Vampires.
bit like vampires. They have to be invited in to get in.
Right, or demons.
Yeah,
Well, that's where I was afraid you were
I mean,
going.
even in lore, demons have to ask to be invited.
Right.
Yes, that's where I was going. It's a supernatural type thing.
Right.
They
yeah.
need permission.
And in
So,
every type of lore that's come out of history, um, it's like with the demons. So the lore that have come from demons is just a collaboration of stories where everything, when where they take stories and all of these similarities are
Right.
alike, and they attribute it. Okay, well that's a demon,
right.
but demons could be an actual entity from history.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that confuses me. If something has
Right.
that type of strength and that type of speed, it certainly doesn't need permission unless it needs permission.
Right.
You-
Exactly. I suppose as well, a bit like Ouija boards. You don't invite them into your house, and if you do a Ouija board, you're open. You know what I mean? You've invited them in.
Yeah.
Who's to say they're going to leave? You know?
Seriously?
I can never make one work.
Um,
I never wanted to.
yeah, I want to get the one that's in the house and get it out now. Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, I refuse to touch a Ouija
I
board.
mean, for me, when it comes to the black eyed children and the feeling that they give you, it's the same feeling that they describe when you talk about the men in black. They talk about you have this hopelessness feeling, like there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do. Like when they come to your door, you pretty much just open it because they're there, because they have to ask for permission to come in too. The men in black don't just come in; they ask for permission, and normally people let them in because they feel that they have to let them in.
Right.
It's like they're compelled to do it, isn't it? It's like they're under some sort of like hypnosis sort of thing just to say okay and open the door or
Right. All right.
Well,
So
that would just lend credence to they are a dark energy, because human beings, I believe, are a light energy. So,
yeah,
and that would be the reason why you feel that uneasiness. It's because they're a dark energy.
the evil.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the devil's children.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
all right, let's try and get one more story in here real quick.
All right.
Okay.
Is again adamant that it is. A 21-year-old woman who wished to remain anonymous reported that one night she woke up to her dog, Lucy, barking at the end of her bed whilst her husband and 22-month-old daughter were sleeping. The dog was staring at the bedroom door like there was an intruder behind it, but she thought that Lucy was just barking at a noise such as the house settling or the wind, as she was only a 3-month-old puppy. She reported that she opened the door to show Lucy that there was nothing there. However, as soon as she opened the dog raced out and headed towards the front door. When Lucy reached the door, she started snarling and growling. Again, the lady decided to open the door to show Lucy that there was nothing there, but as soon as she reached her hand out to open it, Lucy went absolutely mad. She barked and jumped, and when she touched the handle, Lucy started whimpering and backing away, now absolutely terrified. The lady looked through the peephole and was not expecting what she saw. She said that stood on the porch were two girls. One looked around 16 or 17, a slender build and very pale. The girl had long blonde hair and was wearing jeans and a green pullover. This girl was holding the hand of a smaller girl who looked around 3 or 4, who wore jeans and an ivory cardigan. She noted that the smaller girl was looking at the floor almost shyly and was holding a stuffed toy in her free hand. Despite a sense of uneasiness and fear, the lady stated that she would have invited them in for hot chocolate as she thought that something was wrong. However, with no indication that she was even at the door, the older girl spoke. The girl spoke confidently and said, "We have to use your phone. Our mother is worried." It was at this point the girl lifted her head and looked directly towards the peephole. She had midnight black eyes. The lady reported that she had an interest in all things creepy, and so she knew what the girls were as soon as she saw her eyes. She goes on to state that she never actually believed in these types of things, being an atheist and a complete skeptic, and despite not believing it, she could not deny that there were two black-eyed children on the other side of the door. With Lucy still whimpering, she began to back away from the door. However, despite sounding polite previously, the older girl becomes more commanding and hostile. "Just let us in to use your phone. We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted to do that, we would have broken in. I'll ask you again, may we come in and use your phone?" Strangely, the lady reported feeling compelled to go back and let them in, but she kept inching backwards towards the bedroom. Once there, the lady covered the window, locked the door, and sat next to her husband on the bed. She reported that she heard the girl calling for her once more before falling silent. Needless to say, she didn't sleep well that night. Now, moving on from that incident, let's review some.
Okay, well there goes that theory about the whole. If they wanted to, they could have broken in.
Right?
Exactly.
They, they, they pretty much have to ask for permission.
Or the feeling of compelled to open the door, although she knew and heard of what they are.
Yeah. Even though she knew what they were, she still had to come. She still was compelled to open the door for
Right.
them.
She still is fighting the feeling that she had to open the door. That's crazy.
It also shows the determination of the human body, because she kept backing away even though she was compelled to open it.
Right?
Well, if you
So
know
they
that,
haven't got this all overwhelming do it, and they do it automatically. They are compelled, but they do sort of like have a part of their brain that says no, 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 don't you do it, which is quite comforting, really.
Well, see, here's the thing that I see about the whole situation. You got to think about it. With because that's what I do. I just think when it comes down to it, the person is smart. A person by themselves is smart. But as a group of people, we're fucking retarded. Because see, as a person, somebody coming up and knocking on your door, whether it's a kid or not, with solid black eyes, you're like, no, there's something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? But as a group, you tell that story to a group of people, will be like, oh, you didn't open that door for that kid.
Right.
So
Yeah,
as a
exactly.
group,
Yeah.
we are retarded, but as a person, as people, we're supposed to be smarter. That's why I believe that we've dumbed down to the point to where I believe there's people who've let these kids in. You just don't hear from them no more.
it's possible.
Now there is one story. I don't know. I come in a little late. I don't know if you covered it, but there's one story from England where a
Oh
couple
God,
did
John.
let one in.
Yeah, I
A
got
couple.
that one. I got.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Hold on, let me see if I can find you.
No.
Doctor reports. This
I
man
would also like to say as well,
learns
I would always trust the instincts of my dog.
encounter with this being.
Yes, animals have this instinct about them, don't they?
Yes, they do.
All
I
right, I
agree.
think I found it. Let me see if this is it.
You,
I want to report
you,
it's happening
wait.
to me. Such as a man in New Orleans went on to say that after a very close encounter with these
Ain't
beings,
this a bitch?
he passed away not long afterwards, and because of the negativity he felt from the encounter, blamed it on these beings. Weatherly later went on to speculate that these black-eyed children very well might be creating the circumstances which bring about negative outcomes for the victim, suggesting that they may very well be feeding off this fear and negativity somehow. Now, let's review an incident documented by weekinweird.com where a lady made the mistake of letting these children inside her home.
2015.
This lady, who wished to remain anonymous, described that she made the mistake of letting these black-eyed children into her home and is now fearful of losing her life. It's important to note that she wanted this to serve as a warning to anyone who may encounter these beings. This lady was located in a rural town in Vermont and noted that the community was very close and everyone knew each other, and as a result, some people in the town didn't lock their doors at night if they are in. One night, this woman woke up to what she described as a loud banging on the front door, which confused her as her door was unlocked and people in the community don't tend to bother each other at this time of night. It's important to note that during this particular night, there was a heavy snowstorm in the area, so she thought that someone might have had an accident and are in trouble. After looking out of her window, she noted that the motion spotlight was on and that there were footprints in the snow leading up to her driveway, but there was no car in the area. The snow was still fresh on the road, meaning that no one had driven by recently. The view of the front door was obscured from her position at the window, but she did notice that someone was standing nearby. Feeling uneasy now, she woke her husband up and told him about what had happened while the banging at the door picked up again. The husband went downstairs to answer it while she remained behind him in the hallway. She noted that as the door opened, there were two children, a boy and a girl, stood in the snow looking down towards the ground and weren't any more than 8 years old. She described that they were dressed strangely. The girl's hair was very long and straight, while the boy had a dated bowl cut. She said that they certainly were not dressed for winter and suspected that they must have come from a nearby community. Now, it's important to note that the woman detailed that she and her husband were the sort of people who would have rushed these children inside their home after seeing them in the snowstorm, but they both felt that the children were unnerving somehow. They wouldn't make eye contact, and when asked if they were okay, they simply replied, "Can we come in?" The husband, confused now and feeling strange, asked his wife what he should do, and she asked them where their parents were. They simply replied that they'll be here soon. This happened around 2 a.m., and the couple concluded that there must have been an accident nearby, and these children must be suffering from some sort of trauma, and against better judgment, granted them an invitation inside their home. The woman left to make them some hot chocolate, and the husband took them to the living room and again asked if they were okay, where they came from, and how far they walked, and if their parents were okay. The children kept repeating that our parents will be here soon. It was noted that these children spoke in a sing-song-like voice and weren't afraid to be in a stranger's home. This is where the wife noted that they had 4 cats and 3 of them were hiding, while one of them remained with her but seemed very fearful. When she bent down to reassure the cat, he hissed and growled before backing away. Walking back to the living room now, she noted that her husband was sat down holding his head in his hands. She asked what was wrong, and he said that he felt that something was wrong and he felt dizzy. Turning around to give the children their drinks, they looked up at the woman, who said that it took everything she had to keep herself from dropping the drinks. She detailed that their eyes were completely jet black and had no whites at all. She went on that when they noticed she was scared of them, they asked if they could use the bathroom. Trying to be as composed as possible, she took them down the hall and then they went into the bathroom. She then ran back to her husband, who was now suffering from a nosebleed, and asked if he had seen their eyes too. He said yes and was clearly panicking. It was noted that her husband almost never gets nosebleeds, and she started to cry, thinking that these children were somehow causing it. At this point, all of the power in the house went out. Looking down the hallway, they could see the children standing right at the end, not moving and just staring at them. This
Okay, I want to stop it right there.
Sounds like they're sucking energy,
Yeah,
almost like a
that's
succubus.
succubus.
Yeah, Jules knows a lot about being a succubus.
Not that kind of succubus.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to. But still, um, yeah, everybody, Jules are resident succubus. What are they thinking? You know. Oh,
Well, if you think about it, the human, they say the human spirit is pure energy, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So if this man is experiencing nosebleeds, dizziness, it's almost like it's something's feeding off of his energy.
Yeah, it's draining him of his energy. It's sucking
Right.
it out.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But then the power, if the power, I mean, so like with a lot of ghost, like a ghost phenomenon, ghost can only move things or affect things in the real world. That's why the the temperature will drop a tremendous amount. It's because it's sucking the energy out of the air and
yeah.
the area around it
Yeah.
to gain up that power to be able to do that. So it's almost the
That,
same concept,
Right.
right?
you notice
Yes.
people with torches, people with EVPs, people with anything like that. They always all the energy out of the battery, so it dies straight
Right.
away,
The
very
cameras
very quick.
also. Right.
Yeah.
Cameras also. The batteries on the camera will go dead. What is that noise?
What noise?
John Rice, everybody. John Rice.
No, he was muted.
No, I know. I was just joking.
It wasn't John this time.
No, but since you said my name, it's like it's sucking all the electromagnetic energy as
Right.
well as emotional energy and all that,
Yeah.
like a vampire, which lends credence to the vampire theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, that's crazy.
I mean, to me, again, you have to go back to the Men in Black because me, I truly believe that this is just okay. Again, to say that we're the only species running around is really vain because of the simple fact you have to think about the simple fact that there's multiple species of everything here except for mankind. Really?
Right?
Okay.
I think that's a very arrogant statement to believe.
Now,
You know what I mean? We're out of every galaxy, in the galaxy, out of all the planets, out of everything, that we are the only living planet. I
Not
don't
just
think
the
so.
galaxy, the universe. There's
Yeah,
billions of galaxies.
I'm all right, love. I meant the universe.
my
All right,
whole
it's
thing is
2:30 in the
without.
morning,
But see, my whole thing is without
and
even
I'm scared.
acknowledging that with the black eyed children and the men in black, I believe that they're both one and the same because they both have the same effect on you. They both. I mean, I just think that one is like
Yeah.
one comes in and one's supposed to like change your mind, kind of like what they say in the movie. I think that that's truly what they do. Just they put a spin and made it funny. Now, now with the black eyed children, I think those are just like like the people who run out and buy a pet and they're addicted to that pet. They put fireworks on it or whatever. I think that might just be the dicks of the fucking of whoever the fuck they are because they're literally fucking with whatever. Or it could just be an experiment. Will people open the door for these kids? Will these people because now they're doing adults? Will the people
I,
open the doors for these adults in need of aid or whatever or whatnot?
Yeah,
Because
they're grooming.
started doing adults just recently started
I
doing it.
think
You
I
know,
think the children were like the experiment to see if they would, and now they're branching out for the adults. But
Speaking.
again, look what that woman said about her cats. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, if you
I
think
just
about it, um, if going off of the experimenting, if we would open the door for these kids, you got to think invasion type shit. Like if we do come here to this planet and we do want to gain access to a lot of these people to make it, make it less of a fight. I don't know. I'm just trying to think out the fucking box here.
well, that's the thing is with this reminds me of a scam that people will pull, which is like say somebody will be one example is somebody will send a couple of kids up to a door and and ask for something like, hey, can we use your phone or whatever, can we have a drink of water, whatever, and you'll look around, you'll only see two kids, but there'll be a couple of dudes hiding behind a bush ready to ambush you.
Right?
And that's like, it's like the same thing, but just not with the supernatural overtones.
But
Right.
wouldn't kids be more successful because you feel less vulnerable? I mean, why
Yeah.
would they?
Well, you would think that, but again,
I would.
what's funny about the situation is you would think that you would feel more obligated to open the door for the children, and I think that that is the part of humanity that keeps reaching for the door. But it's that fear that they radiate.
Exactly, the overwhelming fear.
Think about
Yeah,
it. Every case that comes up about them, they say something about a fear that those people or entities or whatever they are, they radiate this fear.
Well, that's
Yeah.
and a
yeah.
lot of them say we won't hurt you. I mean, that's not a natural thing for a child to say, is it?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and fear is a very low and, for lack of better term, sticky vibration. Like fear is something that sticks with you, and if something vibrated at the level of energy that fear is at, that would be something that even when they were gone, you'd still had this the heebie-jeebies or something. Whereas like higher vibrations, they're real high, so they're real fast. And like I can imagine, unless you were like a Buddhist monk halfway to nirvana, like you probably freak the fuck out at these little black-eyed shits.
I don't know how I would ever sleep again, honestly.
I mean, really.
I
Well,
That's,
would,
John, you're right, because everything on this planet has a vibration.
yeah,
And it's the energy that gives off those vibrations. So if they're giving off a lower energy, a lower vibrational energy, then our subconscious would feel that.
right,
yeah.
And that would be where the uneasiness comes from.
right,
It's like how certain music can like certain like violin music and like minor keys can just make you feel like you got to double check that the door's locked and like
Right.
turn the light on, and it can freak you out like that. Well, there are things that are more subtle that we don't notice as much as say music that we can hear
Mm-hmm.
that,
right.
that can likely do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I never really thought about it that way as far as like the vibrations and you know, the keys that people in life forms put off because that makes a lot of sense because if it's a lower tone that would be a reason why it would literally throw everything off around it.
Right. And even
Yeah.
the animals would sense it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's why the dog went nuts because the dogs have a higher sense than we do anyway. And for
Yes.
that dog to have been to the point where it was pissed off all the way up to where she reached for the doorknob, you know, that dog was sensing something violent.
Maybe it's an encounter with purgatory, like spirits that are trapped in purgatory, like just crossing into our world and interacting with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
I mean, to say that, then they wouldn't have a purpose. Their purpose is to get inside. They
yes.
wouldn't have a purpose if by what you described, they would need a purpose. That wouldn't be a purpose.
Their purpose is to
Well, yeah, I
torment
don't know what the,
and drain you. Because everyone that's been in contact with them and let them in, or they've always been ill.
Right.
So they're doing something. Well, they want to come in for something.
to
They've got
infect.
a purpose to get in.
And if we're going with the vibrational thing that I was talking about, like to come into someone's house is like, I mean, anybody that even uses sage sticks, and understands what I'm talking about on that, like, or incense or something to like clear out an area, knows that like if you've had a lot of bad experiences in a certain house, or
Right. You're
if
talking
like
about a house cleansing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like it'd be like just the opposite. They'd be going there kind of like viruses to. I mean, what if they're going there like viruses to just infect the area with just fear and loathing and
Doom,
Well, yeah, because
dread.
yes,
Yeah.
everything around you absorbs energy, and it
yeah,
kind of holds that energy in some
uh
way.
huh,
So if
yep,
you come in there with that lower vibration, and like John said, it everything, all
poisons.
the right, it poisons it, it contaminates that area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
and maybe that's the purpose to get a bunch of people into a vibration that's like theirs to like a heaven versus hell type thing.
Right?
Okay. So now, see, that's one of the theories that we've been talking about. Now, I want to throw another theory at y'all for y'all to try and, put your mind around the whole Android theory. Is
Oh
there
yeah.
a possibility that you believe that they might be androids?
I don't think so, because how would
No.
an android have those abilities? How would an android is a robot? That's like saying my
Yeah.
television is vibrating at a level to make me fear my television. I don't believe that.
A cyborg maybe, but not an android.
Well, like, wouldn't an android want to? I mean, if they're capable, wouldn't they want to look more human and not make you so that they can, you know,
Right?
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, this seems
Yeah.
more demonic and evil, not,
Yes.
you
It
know,
does. Yeah.
right? Because an android, you would think, would clone you and make you comfortable, and then
Right.
penetrate. Right?
Okay. So the
Barrier.
android theory, that's just a no go all the way around.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
to
believe that.
me,
I don't think it is. No.
Okay.
no, this seems more evil, more demonic,
Yeah.
more. If we're thinking below or above, this seems more below.
Now
You know?
maybe on the fact of star children, because I do believe there are evil extraterrestrials and there
Yeah.
are good extraterrestrials.
Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe on the star children fact, I
Because
could kind of go with that.
yes, because I do believe in star seeds too.
Yes, I can kind of go with that. But an
Well,
android, no,
then that
no.
blows my
No.
up down theory. But okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Not Android though. It's definitely evil,
I
bad.
Yes.
don't know though. Your TV now, according to the Vault 7 leaks, your TV can make you feel things.
I
So,
think it depends on what program you're watching.
well, yeah, and that has something to do with it and what underlying programming, the way subliminals are now. And I mean,
Yeah.
all this was talked about in Vault 7 of the CIA leaks. They can, the things that they can do and that they've patented devices for and methods for is crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
like the
next
sound
level
wave
sci-fi.
technology. Like the sound
Yeah,
Right.
wave technology.
yeah, and the
But
voice of God technology, and yeah,
yeah, I just, I don't know. I'm kind of out on the android theory.
they can make you angry, they can make you scared, they can make you happy, they can like just like
Okay.
basically radio waves and sound
Yes,
waves and shit
by
like
hitting you with
that,
radio waves. Absolutely.
and flashing lights and all kind of bullshit.
All right. So with that, we got a no go on a Android.
Well,
We have a possibility on supernatural.
Yeah.
Now I want to go over the option of extraterrestrial. Do you believe that they could be extraterrestrial?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
could be, but define extraterrestrial. You know what I mean? Are we just talking about like motherfuckers from Mars or something? Are we saying anything that is outside of our third dimensional Earth,
I
or
mean,
does that get
I
covered
think
in the
Well,
supernatural?
that would be interdimensional. That wouldn't be extraterrestrial.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay,
I mean anything within this universe that traveled here and said, "Hey, what's going on?"
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I
mean,
mean,
right
We might
now,
say a bit,
I don't know.
anything like that.
I
Because
mean, hell, it
because
could be
one thing that
gray alien trying to make us think.
I
Well,
mean,
that's kind of what I said nationwide about, it, like when you said it could be a test to see, well, are they more vulnerable to open the door if it's a child, if it comes to them in a child's
right,
form?
right.
Well, It
That's what
could
I'm
be.
saying as well. Yeah, that's why they now test doing it with adults.
Right.
Right.
To see if we let our guard down.
Right.
If they come at us as in a child's form, will we let our guard down and it's easier to take us over? That's a
I'm not being funny.
possibility.
If it's the middle of the night and a kid's knocking at my door, he ain't coming in.
Yeah.
No, go next door.
Yeah.
Next door will let you in. I
Yeah.
Your
ain't.
neighbors love you.
Well,
By
Jules
saying a
don't
bit.
like her
I'm
neighbors, so
sorry. My
she'll be
kids
happy
are
to
I
send them
hate
there.
It
them. I
works
hate
out
them. Go
there.
and infect
asleep.
them.
My
It
kids
works
are
out.
asleep. If you're knocking on the door and you're under a certain age, there's no reason for me to open the door.
Right, I'm gonna call 911 and let the police know. Look, there's a child outside of my house that needs help. Come get him.
Man,
Yeah.
that's what I said. If my dogs, and that's what I put in the chat, if my dogs turn around and piss themselves and you won't leave, bullets and police are going to be the next message.
Oh shit! You know what? There was one time that that actually happened, and I believe this was also in somewhere in England. They
Oh,
actually
John.
arrested two. They actually arrested two of them.
Well, what was the outcome?
Okay?
Oh shit! No.
Motherfucker, don't start something and just leave
Don't,
people
yeah.
Right, I
hanging.
Don't
know.
have a partial story and leave
Uh,
me
What kind of fucking cliffhanger
wondering
was
if they're wandering around by borough.
what kind of
I'm trying to remember the details of it, but yeah, the police like they were trying to find out, what the hell, because they tried that knocking bullshit and somebody wasn't having it, and they called the cops, and the cops showed up, uh, and they determined they determined that these were not androids, they were biological, um, and which kind of, if we believe it, the documentation, then that kind of also throws the android theory out the window.
Well, see, the only reason why I'm not going to believe that is because for me to believe that, that means that they got caught real easy. In none of these cases have they ever just stuck around to get caught because they're supposed to be able to just disappear. I
Yeah.
don't
Or
see
run at 40 fucking miles an hour. I mean, come on.
I don't I don't see them catching these things unless
Well, they
the, co-
basically
the
they
cops
caught
around
them.
here can't catch up with the regular kids, let alone black-eyed children.
right.
According to the story, I believe they had caught them and basically had to let them go after a certain point. I I'm gonna have to dive deeper into that one.
I mean, one of them tried to snatch
Find
the
out, John.
car.
Find out if the police felt that overwhelming fear, or because that seems to
Oh
be the
yeah.
most consistent thing that everybody feels.
Okay. What I do remember is everybody they were putting like basically Gen Pop and general population, and like everybody started feeling just sick as hell, and until they got pulled out and put somewhere else, like everybody there felt, I mean, just sick. Some of them with migraines,
Yeah, you're
nosebleeds,
gonna have
what
to
what
see
have
that
you.
story,
But
dude.
then when they left, all of a sudden everybody just felt better.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
gonna have to send me that story.
Okay, I'll have to go back and find it.
and
Yeah, I would
please
want to
don't
read that story before I commented on it because
Yeah, you're gonna have to send me that story.
it's just
Yeah,
pieces that we're getting, and I want to be able to look at it and read the full thing before I make a
yeah,
judgment on that one.
yeah,
just
definitely.
one word. Please don't tell me where in England it was. It's a very small island. I don't want to know. I didn't even know they were over here.
Yeah,
Most
because
of them are
just
in
for
the
them to put
U.S.,
just
but
just the they put them in general population. Well, they're kids, so why would they have them in general population in jail around adults?
well, that's the thing.
That's kind of a sketchy story to
Upon
me.
physical examination, a doctor determined uh, that they were physically 18 years old. Now, how he determined that, I don't know. Teeth wear, I don't know. I need more facts as well, but I'm just reporting as one that I have heard.
And see the police stations over here. When you say general population, it's not like a cage with loads of people. You have
Yeah.
individual cells, but you have you
A
know where you
common
get
area.
booked in.
Hmm.
That's the only common areas when you
Right.
get booked in. So
Yeah.
maybe they were sitting on the chairs.
That's probably what they were
Yeah,
referring to. Because yeah, I guess yeah, because that makes sense. Because then they got processed through.
yeah.
Okay.
And if anyone got processed before them, then obviously them people could have got ill, because they
Yeah.
were sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And if they were first deemed to be children, they need the social services to issue a guardian for them to take a statement. So they wouldn't have been put into a cell until that person had arrived. So they'd have
Right.
Yeah.
been sitting on a bench for a while.
That makes sense.
There's a
Right.
whole
In the
process
context of the
when kids are
story.
involved. A whole different process.
Right. That's the problem I had with that story.
Yeah, our police stations are totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it turned out that the one or two that they got weren't. They looked young, but hell, like kind of like how some people look 10 years younger than they really are,
Right.
Oh, like
just
me.
naturally.
Yeah,
It was
but
kind of
some of
like
these
that. They
kids
were real.
but John, some of these kids are being reported to be, it's two of them. One looks around 16, one looks around 3 or 4. I
Yeah, they
mean,
Oh
range.
wow.
They literally range from like 3 to 16.
right.
Okay.
Right. How could
What
you
But
not
y'all
what
be
want to start
what
going
is
compelled
down?
quite
sooner?
what is quite scary is now the adult ones. Yeah, I think they would. I mean, kids late at night looking like that are scary enough. But adults looking like that, I mean, are they? I'm wondering now, are they stronger than the kids are? When they tried to get in that bloke's car. Well,
Or the fact when they were let into the house, they kept saying my parents will be here soon.
Right.
mm,
So it's almost like they're there to get the invite, to get the access to the location, and then they have another set that comes in after. I don't know.
yeah,
Well, what I'll
maybe
do is,
the initial invitation
Right?
is then left it open for the adults to get through because they've already been invited by the children. The children have already been invited in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
what I'll do is because I don't know if I have that video, but there is a video up where the kids literally there was a counter where the kids sat in the house, told them my parents will be here, my parents will be here, and the sicker the family got, finally a car pulled up, the kids got in, and they just drove off. Nobody got out, nothing. I mean, they just pulled up, kids left, got in the car, and they just left.
Yeah,
And
they're feeding off of your energy is what they're doing. I'm telling you.
yeah, I can't believe that woman went against everything that was telling her no. Okay, and her cats no, 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 no.
The animals have very good instincts.
Yeah.
They do.
Well,
But
that's
you
like
know,
the. Have you
if it
heard of the wide-eyed kids?
no,
Yes.
I've heard some stuff about them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a lot more rarer to sight than black-eyed kids, but people don't even report them asking for permission or giving them permission. They just all of a sudden look over and there's this wide-eyed kid there. They don't know how they got there or anything. And someone posited that it might be that they have a stronger telepathic sense and all that, like that was maybe fuzzy, but they were like watching themselves open the door for the other one. Like with the wide eyed kids, it's like they didn't even remember saying, yeah, okay, and opening the door.
Right. But that would just go back to whether they were experimenting with the black-eyed kids and perfected it with the white-eyed kids. But
Yeah.
again, that's something that I would have to look into before I spoke on it because
Yeah.
I really haven't done much on that. It was just, the black-eyed kids. it was so overlooked, but it was happening everywhere, and I just wondered why. So I started looking into it.
Yeah.
So
But
y'all
you
want
know
to
what I find really, really disgusting that the governments and that are not looking out for the people. They're not telling them these things are happening. It's up to
Oh,
individual people that are risking ridicule that are coming out and saying it,
they
you
keep
know?
us in the dark about so
And it
much.
really shouldn't. If it's something that's going to affect the human race, they need to start opening their mouths.
Yeah, they won't.
Well, they're starting a soft disclosure as we speak. That's what we're seeing right now with all the videos that are coming out. The president being um talked to about this. People of Congress. They're starting this soft disclosure.
I think we're gonna see Blue Beam 2020.
What's that?
Project
Project
Bluebeam.
Blue Beam coming to fruition 2020.
all right, go ahead.
Oh.
Again,
Explain it to him, John.
again, you start something and leave people hanging. Come on.
Yeah,
I
I know.
mean,
That's why I
Project
was
Blue
quiet. I thought,
Beam.
yeah, he's just taking a breath. Come on.
Project Blue Beam. CIA project. I can't remember when it was started. I want to say late 50s, but I'm probably off on that. But anyhow,
No, you're
uh,
right. It was late 50s, early 60s.
okay, yeah. Uh, and they uh, basically the idea was to more or less, correct me if I'm wrong, basically do what Orson Welles did with that radio thing with War of the Worlds that time. But like convince people that there was like using holograms and shit, like convince people that an alien invasion was taking place.
right.
Like, what if that plan never died and they've just been putting it off for so many years and and it's all set to go down whenever 2020, let's say, and to usher in, whatever new world order or what have you. uh
Yes.
and uh then they convince us all. They start to prime the public for it like they're doing now, and then they convince everyone, well, not everyone but almost everyone, that the aliens are here and we need to do this and that and the other and trust us, we're the government and all that fun shit. uh you know uh I think that's a
I'm
good
live.
possibility.
Do you know where I'm going to be then? I'm going to be at John's house.
Yeah,
Right.
Project Bluebeam is basically a false alien invasion to make the world population believe that we need to come together as one to fight off this evil thing that's happening. And if you
Oh,
look in the
X Files.
yeah, and if you look in the book of Revelations,
X
now I'm
Files.
I'm not I am not a religious person. Everyone knows what I believe, but
Right.
I do believe the Bible was a history book.
Right.
What Project Bluebeam in the book of Revelations would be the false Messiah
Yeah.
coming in and deceiving everyone to believe he is a god.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
then
remember you saying this.
and then the Christ reborn coming in and showing the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Just in an
yeah.
alien invasion type of way, a false alien invasion type of way. That's what
Yeah.
Project Bluebeam would be.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Just so y'all can, I can equate it to something that everyone understands. Everyone knows about Revelations.
yeah.
So
Right.
It's true.
Well, I
which is a
mean,
great possibility if you think about it.
yeah. I mean that. I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, look at the stories like coming out of China where you had an entire city of millions of people who saw a floating city above them in the clouds. It was literally a city in the clouds because it
Right.
was a holographic projection.
Right.
You can look up videos on it. There's actual people that videoed it from the ground, and you can see a literal city in the sky, just floating in the sky, buildings and everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
A
to
bit,
check
a
that
bit
out.
like a parallel universe, is it?
Right. And it happened in Hong Kong, I believe.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, just like right now, they're talking about the sun is actually a projection because our sun went dark.
Huh.
There a lot of people are saying our sun is a holographic projection right now. That we actually have
Well, it
a
doesn't feel
false.
like one.
Yeah, but they're saying we have a false sun. Like they put something out there to create the heat, to create the light that we need,
I
but that our
don't know.
sun went dark. Look it
I
up.
don't believe that one.
No, I don't
Mm.
believe it. I don't believe it, but
Yeah.
there
I
are
just watched a
theories on it.
documentary on the sun.
There are theories on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe that there are truths out there, but I believe that there's a lot of people who just said a lot of bullshit just to get notoriety.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting, going back to the black-eyed children, everything that every story that I've read about them, they've always been in the same thing, like this overwhelming fear, and
Yeah.
the fact that these children
Everyone's
have
story
to
had the
ask
same
permission to
feeling.
come in, and you have to, if you, it's down to you if you let them in. Yeah.
And that
So,
one
which
thing
makes
right
me,
there,
it holds more credence to me because all these people from all over the world have had the same experiences. You know,
exactly.
in that sort of the fear and the compelled, to be compelled to open the door, and it's only a lot of them. It's only their own little bit of part of their brain that's like no, that stopped them from opening it.
Well,
Right.
humans only use a certain portion of their brain. We have the capabilities of using more of our brain. I believe we have lost those capabilities. That's why we have psychics who can predict things that are going to happen, or you have telekinesis, people who can move things with their mind. It's because they use a larger portion of their mind. We are capable of things that we don't realize that we are capable of.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I do. And I believe from, if I had to choose right now, if I was asked, what do you think? Like, just, I would say demonic, just because of the whole permission thing. I just don't think an alien would go with permission.
Right?
Sounds more demonic, more evil,
Yeah.
to me anyway. Yeah.
What do you think, Nationwide?
Me, I still go with more of a. I don't necessarily believe demonic. I think it's a. I think that it's a being because too much of it for me they overlap with the Men in Black. The Men in Black have been seen. They have been, not necessarily recorded, but people, they have the same effect. Um, whatever the Men in Black are, I will say that's what they are. If they're demonic, I'll say demonic. If they're alien, I'll say they're alien. I think it's more along the lines of whatever has been working with our government to try and create a new world order or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because truly, whatever it is, it has to have been working with the government for the longest if it's been able to just walk up to people and tell you, you don't remember this or what you saw was bullshit, and you completely change your story the next day.
That's why I
A
think it's
bit like
interdimensional.
a bit like Will Smith, and then with them little, them little things that make people forget.
Well,
Right,
see, okay,
That's how
so
they've tried. That's how they've tried to portray it in the film, haven't they?
right,
if
Yeah.
you look over history, okay, demons and angels, to me, they are both a physical being, it's just the demon would be the type of
Antithesis.
personality.
Yeah.
Whether like John said, they're vibrational
Right.
patterns. Lower vibrations, it gives off a more evil tendency than a higher vibrational being. So over history, I believe that they were really just another form of entity. Just they got the name of demon if from their vibrational patterns. Like they were an evil fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did the stories about the Men in Black first come out? How long have they been around?
The Men in Black have been talked about since the whole UFO phenomenon has come to the awareness of Americans. Now
Okay.
you have stories like Russia and things in places like that. Those people are more open to these types of topics.
Yeah.
So you do have stories that were written in like Russia and Europe from like the 1800s, 1700s where they talk about people like that. But
You said
they never really
Europe.
got right. They never really got the name Men in Black until probably about the 50s here.
And what do they do?
After an encounter, after someone has an encounter and they report their encounter, like an alien encounter with our government, the
Hmm.
Men in Black come in and try to convince them that's not what they saw.
Ah, right.
Right.
So basically, it is the film was sort of like a piss take of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the Men in Black, they look human, but they don't look human.
Right.
And everyone who's had an encounter with them say the same thing. They do have
They look
a
like they
human
have on a
Do they
appearance.
human
have
suit.
mind control then?
They say they look like they have on a human suit, and when they're
Right, a
around,
skin suit.
right,
Yeah,
you
like
feel
that
like you feel like you
cockroach guy.
have to sit
Like
with them.
But these people that have had encounters, did they survive because they let them or because they got away? Because I don't know.
No, they just leave. They come in and convince you of something and leave.
Huh.
And when you're so is it only when you're convinced that they leave?
I mean, I don't know that much because they never really go that, you know, do that part of the story really. But there's always like accounts of like where the witness was the Men in Black would show up. There was always a witness who seen the Men in Black. Like there's a video online where they showed the Men in Black walk into a hotel where they say it's the Men in Black. And I mean, but when you watch the video, the dudes don't even know how to walk. One of them was walking on his ankle.
Oh,
Mm,
yeah,
God.
you remember that cockroach guy in Men in Black when he put on that Earl suit?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that.
I mean, they literally what they do is they take the myth and the everything that people say about the Men in Black, and then all they did was they threw it into a movie, so that whenever you look up these different things, you get the movie. You don't get the
Yeah.
actual Men in Black. You
Yeah,
don't
like
get the Men
cover
in
up.
Black anymore when you look them up online. You get Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So it's
cover
like
up.
they're trying to bury it under all this with the films because I mean, there's what one, two, there's three now, aren't there?
Well, that's what Google is doing right now with any kind of conspiracy.
Yeah.
Anything that they deem as conspiracy, they bury it so far down into the search engine that you literally would have to scroll through hundreds of pages before you would actually get to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And
You
a
know,
lot of the sites that talk about these things, they're being wiped off. Like Google is actually deleting them and not
Yeah.
allowing them access to their engines.
well,
Yeah,
even
it's
just to
like a
find
censorship, isn't it, of what we're allowed to know and what we're not allowed to know.
Right.
this one read, the 5-minute read that I found on the black eyed children, I had to like click and then click some more, and it wasn't right there. I had to fish
No.
for it.
Yes.
So it's definitely not as accessible as they don't want it to be, I guess.
Even now, like, okay, so all of the alien encounter stories. Now, if you put in that in the search engine for Google, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get the stories that CBS have come out, NBC. You might get the president's recent comments on it, but you're going to
Right.
get
Well, the
mainstream
first thing you
media's
get
take on it,
is movies. First, they'll show you movies linked to that subject. And then once you get
right?
past the movie thing, because that's what happened with me. First, I got movies. Then I got groups that sing songs. Then I was like, I really had to keep fishing just to
Yes.
get that 5 minute read. So, yeah, that's what's happening. And some people will lose interest or they just think it's not there. I don't know. But they're not making it easy. You have to dig.
And that's why you have a lot of these channels, not just conservative channels, but a lot of these conspiracy channels. Because do you realize how many conspiracies over history have been proven to be
Yep.
true?
Sadly, yeah.
Most of 'em.
Scarily, yeah. That's the scary part.
So
People
they're
can
trying to
find.
make it harder to prove it.
Yeah, well, they want us to all be mindless idiots, honestly. That's what they want.
Well, they don't want you to question anything, do they? They want you to believe their own narrative of everything. It's like fake
Exactly.
news.
Honestly, no.
Exactly.
Just work, pay your taxes, be mindless drones. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how tyranny always starts.
That is exactly right. Take away your
All
weapons.
right,
You know the
look.
drill.
Somehow I lost control of the chat, and I'm getting a little upset because I don't handle business online. I've never done it on JB's chat. I've never done it on Colin's chat. I've never done it on anybody's chat. I do not handle business online.
Yeah, Kimberly, you got to stop that.
Was it something in the chat?
I, I don't know. Was it something I said? I hope not.
No, no, it's all right, y'all. Y'all keep on with the story. Kimberly,
Are you
stop it.
sure? I
Yeah,
feel bad.
it's always her that has to be called out. I don't understand why.
Oh, I'm not even looking at the chat. Is that? Oh, I understand now. I thought it was something I said. Okay. Sorry.
Colin's got it handled.
That's
Just
why
continue.
that's why I respected Sue Ann. Sue Ann came to me behind the scenes. We talked. Okay. I do not handle business online.
Yeah, nationwide. Don't even reply to the bullshit. Colin's got it handled, baby. Continue with your show.
Wow. That's weird. You would just think that you would know better. I don't. But fuck.
The heck did I miss?
I mean, we're sitting here talking about black-eyed children, and you got somebody in the chat talking about, well, can you tell them I'm sorry? Can you tell them I'm sorry? What the fuck? For real? That's what we're talking about in the chat?
Oh my God. Now I see it. Well, I was trying to stay focused because that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Absolutely.
So I wasn't looking at the
We're having a
stupid
serious
chat.
discussion here, and if someone comes in
I,
and starts
I
trying to balls
ignored it.
it up,
I'm sorry. I ignored it as long as I could.
Well, it's okay.
So
I
I
just,
just wanted to address it.
It's all right, nationwide.
yeah, yeah. I just didn't understand. I thought I said something wrong. Like,
Oh, no.
what did I thought? What did I do?
that's usually
What
Gloria.
was
That's usually me, love.
Yeah, no. It's just
Y'all
You're
want to
not
see
picking
another
my spot
video?
on that one.
Y'all want to watch another video and see another
Yeah,
story?
yeah.
Yeah,
Hit me.
definitely.
we'll do whatever
All
you
right, let's
want
watch
because
another
you've got
story.
control.
Finished
Oh
and
wait, let me mute.
She said that after this incident, she had been in the worst condition of her life and wished that they had never opened the door that night. I'd just like to take a moment to thank everyone for the support and to answer some questions and criticism and argument. When this happened, I was okay.
There we go.
Okay. So this feels really weird to say.
Oh, I think
But
this
quick
is the same
disclaimer.
one.
When this happened, Noah called the police. By the time they arrived at 6 a.m., both of the boys were gone. Noah reported pulling out his phone and threatened to call the police if they didn't leave.
Have we
He
heard
went
this
to a
one?
security monitor and noticed that only one boy remained
No.
into the camera. 10 minutes of this,
Okay.
Noah reported that he was becoming tired of this game and so decided to go to monitors and saw the two
All
boys
right. I'm
staring into
sorry,
the
y'all.
street. He turned around to make sure that 5 a.m.
There
He
we
went
go.
outside for a smoke break when he saw two teenage boys standing a couple of feet away from him, motionless and staring at him. Feeling extremely uncomfortable, Noetic went back inside. However, 10 minutes later, the intercom buzzed. Noetic checked the security monitors and saw the two boys staring into the surveillance camera, almost as if they were looking right at him. After hitting the speaker button, Noetic called out and asked what they were doing there, which was met with silence, motioning him to come outside. He told them to go away, but the boys didn't leave and just continued to stare into the camera. After another 10 minutes of this, Nautic reported that he was becoming tired of this game and so decided to go to the door to chase them off. Just before opening the door, Nautic stated that he could see the boys through the one-way glass and was shocked to notice that their eyes were completely black. Thought to himself that he would tell them to go away and threaten them with calling the police. However, almost as if the boys read his mind, one of them said, "That will not be necessary, sir. We simply need to use your phone. Can you let us in?" Noetic reported pulling out his phone and threatened to call the police if they didn't leave. He went to a security monitor and noticed that only one boy remained staring into the camera. A second later, he saw the other boy staring into camera 3, which is located at the back of the building. Feeling unnerved, Noetic called the police. By the time they arrived at 6 a.m., both of the boys were gone. Now, the question remains, what happens when these beings are allowed in close proximity with the victim and granted entry? Paranormal.
So what y'all think?
Sounds like they were kind of scoping
Oh,
out the location and looking at the freaking cameras. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, but for one to be able to get from the front of the building to the back of the building in a matter of
In that,
seconds,
yeah, as I say, in that quick time, there's just no way that any
Human?
normal. It couldn't be a human that could do that.
No, not at all.
and it was the same boy.
yeah, it was the same boy
There's
because there was
two boys.
there was
There's
two boys in camera one in the front, and he said he looked away, came back, and one of the boys was in camera 3 at the back of the building.
Can you
Wow.
imagine the fear of see? It's like having like all them screens, like with CCTV, outside your house. You see two in camera one, and then you like blink, and the one is at the back. I'd shit myself.
Right. Well,
I'd
deplorable is saying
literally shit myself.
deplorable is saying maybe they're interdimensional. Maybe they can teleport in a sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a possibility.
Why did saying that? Why did who I was saying that? I was going to say about that bloke in the car that maybe they run like really fast, didn't they?
Well, what, 40? He finally got away when he hit 50 miles an hour.
Well,
50
yeah,
Yeah,
because
miles an
if you
hour
think
is
about it,
fast.
a interdimensional being wouldn't be held to the same laws of
Speed.
physics here
Right.
as we would.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you know
that
something? Well, before I go to bed, I'm going to sage my whole
I was just
house.
going to say,
would that
this
literally
would have
go
been a.
back and refer? Would that literally go back and reference the movie in the Matrix?
Right?
Hmm.
Would there literally be beings that can live outside of the Matrix?
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, it's gonna be a long night
I
tonight.
mean, it's weird. It's weird, when your mind, when you just let your mind go. A lot of the shit. I mean, see, here's the thing. A lot of the shit that comes out of your mouth, sometimes it's bullshit. But just the fact that you are open to let the shit come out of your mouth also gives you the opportunity to actually hear it out loud, and maybe it might be a possibility to you. But one thing I hate is closed-minded people, people who don't just that won't sit back and listen to this type of a conversation, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's a panel of crazy fucks," when something that somebody might have said that you might have needed to hear.
It's closed-minded people, isn't it? People that don't want to admit that there could be something more than what is here, that what we are told is here.
Right. I mean, how many people have? I mean, how many of you people out there have actually? I mean, because I'm not just talking to the people that are here. I'm talking about the people that are here and the people that will see the video later and everything else. How many of you have ever just been walking down the street and felt just like, wait a minute, there's somebody watching me, and you were really worried about making it to where you were going?
Yep.
That
Yes.
Yeah,
doesn't mean that they came for you. Apparently, they just have that aura. They could just be sitting in a bush somewhere and you walk past.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've had that feeling.
there's been plenty of times from when I was a kid to an adult
Or
that
you thought you saw
I still
somebody.
walk at night. I still walk at night.
Yeah,
There's
you
been
thought.
times at night where I just felt like something was just there,
Yeah, you thought you saw something, but then you didn't. But did you? Right.
right?
Yep. I've had that. Yep. Yeah.
So just to dismiss it would be foolish, because you everybody has had that moment where you've walked this route hundreds of times. I mean, hundreds of times. And then one day you walk it and you have a bad feeling about it.
it goes down again to trusting your own body's instincts, and a lot of people don't want to. I've always been taught to trust mine, so I do. I've had that before, and I'm looking around, and then I think, is someone staring at me from a window, or do you know what I mean? And
Right,
if
So
I
then,
can't explain it in my head, I always think, oh, well, it's my nan looking after me, or it's my another one looking after me. Do you know what I mean? But
Right.
then I think, well, I wouldn't be feeling this dread if it was that, because I'd be feeling that overwhelming feeling of love. So, but I do try and justify it as in somebody's looking at me and that I may not be able to see them,
yeah.
because
Just
I'm very open minded when it comes to
Yes.
things like that. I'm
like,
not
You get a
naive
it
enough
might,
to
sense.
think,
You
just
can
like
get a
what
sense of
Pitbull
someone
said.
staring at you in the same room. Like you're
Right,
watching television and you could just feel someone staring at you and you turn around and your son's standing there or
right.
yeah, same as if you're in a club. You
But
could
that's
be in
like,
the
yes.
packed club and your eyes will lock to someone right over the other side of the club, and they're looking at you.
Right.
right. But that's
Weird.
like what Piss on it just said in the chat. Have you ever just been sitting in your house and something happened and where you just knew that you walk outside, and then once you walk
Yeah.
outside, you're just like, no, 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 I need to
Right.
get back in.
Yeah.
Because
It's a trap on
something
me.
something drew you outside, but nothing's out of place.
you know what?
Piss
You
on
know
it
what
said.
I'm. You know what? Oh, go ahead.
Hey, Tony.
Piss on it said. Just a little conversation about spooks.
You know what I'm thinking is it possible that people that went mad, crazy, that are in institutions or whatever, maybe they've had these encounters and they couldn't, snap back from them. Maybe they've come in contact. When you think about how many people lose their minds, perfectly normal people one day, and then they've snapped.
And
That was
it's becoming more prevalent now
That's what
that
I'm
than
was
it's
saying.
ever
the
been.
liberal mind frame.
Well,
A
yeah,
lot of people show must have let them kids in.
yeah, yeah. You got to give them something. But you know what I'm saying? Like when you think about, I mean, if I've watched some documentaries on like institutions, and it's so sad. I mean, you know,
Well,
people.
back in the day, they institutionalized people with just regular disabilities,
Oh, I know.
like families with like somebody like Colin. He would be put into an institution and forgotten about.
Or Angel. Yeah,
And then in a third world
yeah.
country, those babies would just be killed.
Oh, I know. I know.
Or revered as gods.
Right, or revered as gods in the Indian cultures, right? But now it's now that we've realized these people can have a normal life, it's not the people with the regular disabilities that are being institutionalized, it's the mental disabilities.
Right.
And they are becoming more and more. It's not just a population thing.
No.
Right.
And it's all
That's
over
what
the world.
happens. That's
Yes.
what,
People lose.
uh,
I'm just wondering if they've come into contact with something and,
That they
you
couldn't
know,
wrap their brain around it and it just broke them mentally.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
happens when brainwashing goes bad, though. Nuts.
Well, I don't know that it would be brainwashing because this sounds like a really scary experience, you know.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, I don't know. It's definitely something to think about, right? A lot
Yeah.
at bedtime.
Yes. It's 10 to 4 in the morning here and it's pitch black.
Well, it's 11 o'clock, here in New York, so it's pretty dark
And
too.
Nationwide said to me when he first ever introduced me to the Black Eyed Children, he said, "Don't watch this in the dark."
Yeah,
And then
I
he
bet you this
rings
is
me
more
to
of an
come
8
on
a.m.
at this
topic.
time in the morning.
You know how I do.
Yeah, the scary stuff is maybe, better in the morning so you've got all day to, you know,
I've got to get
process
up.
it. And
I've got to get up at 7.
oh my,
Yeah, to me, honestly, it does. It sounds like these are just evil entities.
that's exactly where I keep going back to, you know, evil.
Maybe a lower dimensional entity.
That's
Well,
what my money's on.
evil,
Right.
you know.
A
All right.
lower
So,
dimensional entity would be evil
well,
Yeah,
what
to
I'm going to go
us.
ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and get ready to end this video.
Yep.
But I want to go ahead and get everybody's opinion and what they came in with and how they're leaving. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start with
Scared,
Miss Jewel. Let's go.
petrified. No, I came into it half knowing what they're about, but it does make me question what they actually are. And like I said, the fact that there's now adults of them. This is. I want to dig more. I want to find out more about them. This has really made me want to investigate it more in depth, and that's a good thing because I think a lot more people should.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's things that go on in this world that we have no idea about. And I think it's too much of a coincidence for so many people to have the same experiences about these children.
Yep.
Yeah. I think if so many people are having this experience, then somebody needs to go ahead and just be honest about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
If I saw one, I'd be filming it and I'd be putting it on YouTube the next day.
Get that
I was
YouTube.
like, look at this fucker I didn't let in my house.
And I'm getting sick by the minute.
Yeah. Damn, I feel sick. But look, I downloaded it.
Well,
Does
I
it
don't
say
live
how
there
long it takes
anymore.
for them to get better?
Man,
Is
I'm
it
just telling
instant as soon as they go?
See, here's one I don't know because see, I'm gonna tell you this here. You know, if I was to ever like say I was to come out of my room and I saw one of those kids standing in my room, like say like my kid let one in on, I don't live in that house anymore.
No, do you know
I
what that
don't
reminds
live
me
there
of?
anymore.
When Eddie Murphy did a stand up and he said about white folks going, the Amityville horror going in and the ghost goes, get out. And they buy the house anyway. That's what it reminds me of.
Right,
No, no, I'm not living in that house ever again.
right.
Ever. You've invited the kids in. There's other things coming. No, goodbye. Who
You
wants an exchange? Beautiful house. I only want a flat.
Well, the way I feel about that is if they found you, I think they're connected or they're drawn to a certain type of energy, and that's why certain people are picked to have these encounters.
right,
I really believe this is an interdimensional thing. I think it's a lower vibrational being that is just preying on the energy. It's almost like the energy is its food.
right.
That's what sustains it. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of leaning toward, but I would have to like really research this like I do my any other topic I'm interested in. So this
This
will just be
really
another
does
thing.
interest me.
Yeah,
But
this
when
will
you
just be another topic that you have just drawn me into, and I will be completely fixated on it for a while.
don't forget to look at the white-eyed children as well,
Yeah.
Well,
because I've
look, let
watched
me
a few
tackle one at a time, Jules, please.
no, Barbara, do your homework
Yeah, and
because
if you like these type of videos where I talk about stuff like this, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Put it in the comment section about what maybe you might want me to cover later. Um,
white-eyed children.
but
I would, s-
let's go ahead and get John's opinion on this. How did you come into it, and how are you leaving?
well, I, I looked into it a little bit too. And so I came in with a little bit of, I haven't heard more of the stories. Uh, hadn't really had a chance to really sort through them with a fine tooth comb or anything, but you know, I got some places where I had questions. Someone else had covered it, with something they said, so I was able to really kind of build on, what I already knew, and it seems my opinion's actually about the same about them, and I've even ruled some things out. But like I wanted to leave y'all with this. Uh, they everybody always when they report this, they have like a what the fuck just happened kind of feeling, right? That kind of comes across to me a little bit subtly.
Yeah.
And now, what? How do we know that when they're asking to be invited in, that they're even talking about their home solely?
Right?
Yeah.
What if that's not where they're asking to be let into?
Thank you,
Yeah,
John.
that makes a lot of sense.
You're welcome.
Because, I mean, that does make a lot of sense because when they do say "let me in," they're not very specific, but they are very specific when they're saying "let me in your house" or in your car.
Yeah,
They're usually very specific about when they're trying to get into your residence or your vehicle. But usually, whenever they just try the bully tactic, they just say "let me in."
yeah,
Because when you watch the stories, listen to the stories, read the stories, they have two different tactics. One, they come and they ask for help, or two, they'll just come to excuse me, they'll come to your house and they'll try and bully their way in, just like by telling you, just let me in, just let
Right.
me in. So they have two different tactics.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Gloria, what did you get out of it?
Well, I came into it with that 5 minute read that took me a while to find. So that wasn't, that was strange in itself. Um, and well, if I did do any research on it, I, seriously would do it during the day hours, daytime. And I don't know. I keep going back to a demonic type thing. I don't know if it's because it's embedded in my head from all the movies and TV shows, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but I keep thinking, just, well, evil, and evil. The whole asking for permission thing, that's where I get hung up because nothing like an android or a extraterrestrial, I don't know. I don't see where they'd be asking for permission. Why? It doesn't make sense, you know, to me anyway.
It could be.
So
Yes,
I,
I agree.
I
it
mean, it
does.
could be because they can overpower you. Period. It could be because of that reason alone. I mean, I'm not giving you a reason. I'm just giving you a possibility. It could be because they can overpower you anyway, and they feel like somebody will let them in any elsewhere.
And
And
maybe it's got to be a voluntary thing from from the host. Yeah, from the host.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, my whole thing right here is again, I I look for truth everywhere. Look at the whole first 10 seasons of uh what was it? Uh
Supernatural.
no, not Supernatural. X Files.
I was
Expo.
going to say X Files.
Everything. I mean, everything we're saying about the black eyed children, they went through with that alien race.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just saying you have to look at every possibility because if it worked on TV and had people so you know sucked in that they made 10 seasons of these aliens duping people and doing this and doing that, what's to say that it didn't really happen? Because again, we're not really smart enough to catch it. Well, at least most of us aren't.
That's true. We
That's
don't.
the program that had me questioning things because I liked it because you had him who believed and her that was trying to prove it scientifically that it didn't happen. So you had two sides,
Right,
which I found really interesting.
right. I mean, because you got to remember the aliens with no face actually infiltrated the human race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
There's
got
so
to
many.
sleep in a
Yeah.
minute. Do you know that?
There's so many
It's
scenarios.
not
There's so many
helping me.
directions you can go with this topic.
Well, that's
With
what,
so
Right.
many
yeah,
And
this
that's
topics.
is what makes it a
and
good talking point, doesn't it? Because
that's the reason why
everyone's got
I
their
brought it.
own stamp on it.
Right. That's the reason why I brought it up because there's so many different directions that it has gone, and a lot of people don't know about the phenomenon, but it's actually something to talk about.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. The
and it's interesting.
It sure is. And everybody's got a different take, but we all come down to the same thing. It's
Right?
scary. It's
Yeah,
scary. It's
Right.
definitely something you don't want to cross, right? And it's
I've
definitely
just,
life changing, I imagine it would
yeah,
be.
yeah.
I've just shut my bedroom door because I can see my front room window.
Mhm. Oh, Jules, the
I don't want
sun.
no kids looking at me through my window with black eyes.
You know, Jules, for someone who likes the psychic phenomenon topics and likes witchcraft and all, you sure are a scary bitch.
Listen, I protected anyway, and I'm going to sage this whole house after this conversation.
That is
Wow.
funny.
There's nothing
Well,
getting in here.
Jules,
I've got rosemary by my door.
you've got the sun coming up soon, right? You got the sun coming up
Sorry?
sooner than I said. You have the sun coming up soon, right? Not long. It'll be morning.
What's the time? I think it is now 4:05 in the morning.
Well, that won't work because I actually have a story where the adults are out during the daytime,
Oh Lord.
Fuck off! Fuck off!
Jules
and
doesn't
I
want
I,
to
want
I,
hear
to
that
I wouldn't.
I
Do you
story.
know,
want to
sir?
save that one. I want to save that one for part two because since this was a good conversation, I am going to have a part two on the Black Eyed Children. How does that sound?
Brilliant.
Sounds great.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds awesome to me.
Okay,
Sounds
but
great.
When it comes to the adults, when I'm walking around in the day, I wouldn't know 'em from the crackheads on the estate, so it don't really matter. I ignore them and all,
Oh my
right.
goodness.
and I wouldn't let them in my house.
No.
All right. Anybody got any last words? I want to go ahead and end this.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. It's
Thank you.
very interesting.
Well, thank y'all for showing up. Again, this is another episode of in the mind of a wise guy.
Mm.
I just wanted to talk about it. It's just something that I am very passionate about. I'm passionate about supernatural and extraterrestrial because at the end of the day, those are two different things that are always battling each other for pretty much dominance. What you
Yeah.
believe. So that's pretty much why I'm really into the two, because either you believe that we are a spiritual being or we are an alien creature. Whichever one you believe fits in.
Both.
Well, those two don't have to be opposing forces, you know.
Right. And that's the one thing, and that's the one thing that I look into. I look into it because I want to know at the end of my life, I want to know the entire truth, not just what told me in a book and not what some dude told me because he read the book.
Right.
I'm going to write to Usain Bolt and get him to race against a 40-mile-an-hour car now.
Now, now, I don't give a damn how fast black folks have been on this damn planet. We ain't never been able to outrun no damn car.
I would love to see him because he's a sprinter. Because they didn't. Did they say how far he went before he faded back? I just want to see if he can keep up with a fucking car that goes from 0 to 40 mile an hour. See if he
Oh,
can catch up
Usain
with it.
Bolt?
He,
Yeah,
well, he said that he started to lose them at 50.
Yes.
Like a
So
damn cheetah.
So that thing can run up to at least 45 miles an hour, is the way I look at it. At least up to 45 miles an hour, that thing could run.
that's some mad shit, isn't it?
Yeah, he said that he finally started to lose him after he hit 50.
Right.
That's
He
Yeah,
fast.
finally started to drop back and lose him after he hit 50 miles an hour. So it
That's
yeah, but
means at
he
40
didn't
miles an
say
hour
what.
he was sustaining the same speed.
that's incredibly fast.
And think about it. Not only was this thing running with him at 40 miles an hour, but it was beating on his window with increasing
Yeah,
force. Which
Yes.
means if it was beating on his window at increasing force, that 40 miles an hour was nothing to him.
no, exactly.
That's really a scary thought. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine. That's life changing. Definitely life changing.
How these people have retained their sanity, I do not know.
I'm thinking not all of them have. And
I'm
that's why,
thinking they haven't either.
yeah, I'm thinking that's why, we really don't know. When people snap and all these sad people in these psych hospitals and stuff, God knows what they've encountered or seen, and nobody believes them. And, you know, that's a whole
Yeah.
other story, right?
I mean,
Well, I've been in psych units, and I know a lot of people say they've seen this and they've seen that, and they just get fobbed off that they're, what I mean, they're having hallucinations or they're
Exactly.
having, they're schizophrenic or that. Who's to say that they are actually, who's to say
Right.
that they're not seeing these things just
Well,
just
at
as
the end
we
of the
can't?
day,
Right. And
at the end of the day, you got to look at it like this. Regardless of what their evaluation or their diagnosis was, you got to think about it like this. How sane are you going to be when not only did you run into these kids with black eyes that you're not going to be able to explain to anybody, but then when you do try to explain it to people and they start thinking you're crazy, you know, you're you're getting sick. You can't explain it. They can't explain it. I mean, literally, that would drive you nuts.
it would literally drive you nuts,
That would
sadly.
drive you. You're going crazy because you're getting sick. You don't know how. You don't know why. They can't find out why or how. It's just, what do you do with those people other than lock them up?
And
Yeah,
that
and med them up so they're walking around like zombies. I've so been there.
it's sad.
These people are there now and they're dribbling and everything because they're medded up to the fucking eyeballs. It's absolutely
And
disgusting.
that is exactly what they do. They
Yep.
they medicate them so badly that they are walking zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the answer to everything, right?
I have
After a
jambalaya
trauma,
pasta in there. You can have.
It always
medicate
has been.
people.
It always has been. If you can't explain it, lock them up.
Well, no, I'm
Don't touch
saying
me.
any type of trauma, even our veterans. I was robbed at gunpoint at my job, and the first thing they tried to do was give me some type of medication to make me calm. It was like, I am calm.
Why I hear children?
I'm sorry.
That's my freaking kid and all her freaking friends coming in here to annoy the hell out of me. So why I
Barbara,
hear children?
I
you
hear
could have
some
muted,
children.
love. This is
Yeah,
nationwide show. You should have muted.
I hear
freaking
children.
annoying ass kids.
Yes, we know.
Oh wow. Well, okay. Well, thank y'all for showing up. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for showing up on the panel, and thank y'all for showing up in the chat. I appreciate y'all. Tony Hogan, Deplorable, BDK was here. Colin, Sue Ann, I would like to thank uh, LaShawn for showing up. Thank all of you for showing up for the show. I guess I'll catch y'all in the next game. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.